Today I'm reviewing the CAD Audio Equitek E100Sx large diaphragm condenser microphone, and this is the second time I've had to record this segment, all because of this thing. I'll explain why in a moment, but let me tell you a little bit about the Equitek E100Sx first. This is the fourth generation of this microphone. The original design goes back to 1993. This latest design was released just last year, so it's fresh and new. The Equitek line of microphones goes back over 30 years, and CAD Audio goes back even further than that. And it's one of those companies that I've always known about, I've heard about, but I've never actually had an experience with their microphones until now. And I gotta say, I'm really intrigued with the microphone shape here, this rectangle. It's very unusual, and it kind of looks like an ice cream sandwich, and that's a good thing because I like ice cream sandwiches. Along with the unusual shape, this microphone comes with two switches. There's a low roll-off or a high-pass filter at 100 hertz, and then it also has a 10 dB pad, and it has a really low profile slim shock mount. It doesn't even look like it's in a shock mount, and we'll talk about that in just a moment. It has a nickel plated 25 millimeter diaphragm. It has low self noise, and it can handle up to 136 dB if that pad's engaged. All right, I'm gonna let you hear what the high pass filter sounds like. Let me get my headphones on first. So this is flat with no high pass filter engaged. Now let me flip that switch. And this is the E100Sx with that high-pass filter engaged. I can already hear the difference in my headphones, so you can probably hear it as well, unless you're listening on your phone, in which case you probably can't hear it. I'm not going to demonstrate the 10 dB pad because it's a 10 dB pad. If you want to hear what it sounds like, just turn the volume down on this video. This microphone has a hypercardioid polar pattern. That's a little bit unusual for a studio microphone. Most studio microphones are cardioid, or maybe some of them are omni or figure 8. What that means is that it is still mostly sensitive at what it's pointing at directly. But at 180 degrees, there's a little bit of sensitivity. So it's going to pick up sounds directly behind it, but it has these null points where it won't pick up anything kind of angled at the back. Now, as always, I am not reviewing these microphones from a vocalist standpoint, from a studio recording standpoint. I am reviewing them from a content creator standpoint. So a hypercardioid polar pattern might not make a difference to you, especially if you're the only one on the mic and there's no other sound sources in your room. But it's good to know. So about the shock mount on this thing, the two sections are so close, so form-fitting. It's almost like two spoons, like back to back, and you could swear they were touching, but they're not. There's probably a 2 millimeter air gap between the two sections, but it does a decent job. And if you combine this form-fitting shock mount with the rectangular flat microphone shape, you can get this microphone literally right up to just about anything. You could have it right up against a guitar amp. Obviously, I can get it really close to my face without having a shock mount poking me in the teeth. So that can be really useful in different situations. You may have noticed I'm not using a pop filter on this microphone. I am using it off axis and trying to speak, off to the side so it doesn't get the worst of the plosives, but it's still picking up some plosive noises. You probably have heard those. Like most condenser microphones, it is very susceptible to plosives, especially head-on. But so it got me thinking, what do people normally do for a pop filter for this microphone? Because it's an unusual shape. And yeah, you can get one of those nylon circles with that little clamp, and it's got a little spring arm or something. Those are awkward. I can't stand those. I would prefer something that mounts directly either to the shock mount or the mic. I sometimes use these curved form-fitting pop filters that kind of attach to the front and maybe a ring around it, but that works for a traditional cylindrical mic. Again, it doesn't work on this. So I contacted CAD Audio and I'm like, hey, what do people do? And they replied and said, hey, funny you should ask. We just developed a line of pop filters for these microphones. And I'm thinking, wait, since 1993 and you just have a pop filter? Anyway, and I had recorded most of this review already without a pop filter. So now I'm re-recording it with the pop filter. We should put it on there. But actually first, let's do a plosive test without the pop filter, and then we can put it on here. First of all, off axis, just like I've been speaking, Peter Piper picked to peck a pickle peppers. All right, now here we go, on axis. Prepare yourselves. Peter Piper picked to peck a pickle peppers. Oh, yeah. Okay, let's put the pop filter on. Okay, so this is what it's actually, let me talk directly into the microphone here. This is what it sounds like with the pop filter on and directly into the microphone. And let's do a plosive test, shall we? Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. To the headphones, that sounded a lot better. I should play that back. So I just played the audio back, and the pop filter's doing a really nice job of cutting down on the plosives there. And it seems pretty transparent. I'm not hearing a lot of high frequency loss with the pop filter on, so CAD audio, nice job with the pop filter. I guess I have one minor disappointment with the pop filter, and that's it makes the microphone look slightly less cool. With the pop filter on, it looks like a robot wearing a hoodie. I always find it helpful to compare a review microphone with some other microphones that I might be familiar with, and I'm going to do that right now. Now you're listening to the Audio Technica AT2020. This is a microphone found in a lot of studios, a lot of budget studios, creator studios, because it's inexpensive. It's about $100, so it's about half the price of the Equitek microphone. And along with its budget price, you don't get a whole lot. You get a basic mic clip, you don't get any shock mount, you don't get any pop filter, and this is how it sounds. And now you're listening to the Electronics SE2200. This microphone goes for about $250 as opposed to the Equitek's $200. And with it, you get a more traditional shock mount. It doesn't have a cutaway or anything, so it could potentially get in your way a little bit. It also comes with a metal circular pop filter that fits in front of it. I'm not using it right now because I want you to compare the sounds of the microphones without any pop filters. So this is the Electronics SE2200. As you know, prices change from time to time. So if you're curious about how much the E100SX is going for now, or those other two microphones, please check the video notes. I've got some affiliate links in there, and you can find out the most recent prices. Coming back to the Equitek, I did pull the pop filter off because we were listening to those other microphones without pop filters, but let's put it back on. In terms of sound, this microphone's a little darker than some of the other microphones out there. If you look at the frequency response chart, the low end has a little bit of a bump at 40 hertz, and then it's pretty flat. And then there's actually a dip at 7K before it comes back up. And if you compare it to the AT2020, the 2020 has both a roll-off in the low end and a little bit of a bump in the high end. So the 2020 is either going to sound thin or brighter depending on your perspective. The SE2200, on the other hand, is pretty flat in the low end and the mids, and then it's got this boost in the high end, so that microphone probably sounds a little bit brighter to you. You know, there are a lot of budget microphones out there that use the same basic capsule, and they all have a very similar sound. It's a very hyped high-end sound. So the Equitek E100Sx, having a different sound is kind of refreshing. And if your voice tends towards sibilance and you're struggling with some of these microphones that have that boosted high end, the Equitek might be exactly what you need. So you put that all together, you've got a microphone with a unique sound, it's got a unique shape, it's got a unique shock mount, and you can get it up close to whatever you're recording. It's definitely worth checking out, and I think it's a definite bargain for the price.